Welcome, everyone. Let me introduce myself. I'm Nancy Daudelin Peskett, and I'd like to welcome you to my See Beyond ADHD Summit. My goal is to help women change their perspective, embrace their own brand of ADHD so they can conquer their life and reach any goals they have. So I'm super excited to have Kat Loutrel with me today. Together, we'll talk about self-acceptance. Oh, that's a big one for us, usually. So welcome. I'm so glad you could make it here.
And thank you for having me, Nancy.
Yes. Thank you for being here. It's amazing. So let's talk about you a little bit. After a lifetime of struggling with ADHD and doing our best to fit the structure of a neurotypical world and workplace, Kat realized that she needed to personally embrace her neurodiverse differences and otherness and stop trying to fit into an environment made for the neurotypical individuals of this world. In November 2021, she left her position at a mental health outpatient clinic to reconnect to her personal differences, gain certification as an ADHD certified clinical service provider, and break into a new venture using her clinical social work knowledge and experience to assist others like herself and those that interact with them by creating Resilient River LLC. What a lovely name. So apt.
Thank you.
So
I'm kind of partial to it myself. So,
yeah, I really love it too. I have to admit.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. Resilient River LLC offers personalized online services to individuals, couple, partners, groups, and organizations through psychotherapy, consultation, and coaching. Focusing on helping individuals overcome their stigma so they can make self-acceptance a reality and achieve what they desire in their life.
Yes, well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I'm excited to be here and share a little bit about resiliency and the river to self-acceptance and what rivers mean to me, because I've always loved water, but rivers have a special meaning for me.
Oh, so I understand you have a presentation for us, which I'm
yes,
very excited.
Great. I hope it goes well, and I'm sorry right now for any kind of technical difficulties.
Don't apologize.
All right.
I have ADHD, and lots of our viewers, I would imagine, have ADHD, so we all understand that sometimes things don't go quite as
the way we
wanted to. That works.
Yeah.
So if you want to share, lovely.
All right. So the river to self-acceptance. I just want to share this river here has a lot of meaning for me. When I was in high school, I struggled through school like most people with ADHD, and this river was right next to where my school was. I would have to travel to it, and I try to forget that time of my life a lot, but so I'm trying to reclaim that. Like, that's a part of my resilience story, is reclaiming that time of my life where I really was struggling to find my own path and to navigate this world. So I just like to have that picture there. It's also, I think, on my, it's on my website too, the main picture. So thank you for that. So the resiliency of a river. And there's a nice little quote here by Eartha Kitt. Now, for me, rivers are stronger than stone, right? So mountains, people think of strength. They think of like rocks and they're solid, right? But it's be real. Like, what really makes the rocks form? Like, think of canyons, like, the big canyons of the world. Rivers form that. So rivers always will make a way through, around, under, or over the obstacles that kind of come in place. And for us ADHDers, there's lots of obstacles out there that we have to navigate and kind of overcome. And sometimes we feel like we're in rapids, right? There's so many obstacles that it's harder to navigate. And other times we have still waters, and so it's like a slower, calmer moment. So it's kind of like the dysregulation of ADHD, but yet also the ability to focus and kind of enjoy life. I like to think of ADHDers as we get a lot of crap or flack for like not being in the present and being right now. But I honestly feel that with ADHD, a lot of times we actually are in the present too much, if anything.
Yeah.
So the resiliency thing is like huge for me, because I often feel like I'm just a stagnant water, like a lake, and I have boundaries around me everywhere and I can't get anywhere. So the river kind of takes lakes and feeds them, but it also will take them into another path too.
Yeah.
So that's my resilient river. There's more to it, of course. I could keep going because I love it, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna just gotta continue on. And I really like the last part of this quote where it was saying, "Don't let anyone deter you from that." So like from bending and turning,
Yeah.
and you'll end where you'll end up, right? I'm a big believer in the way life kind of goes, and like finding that, rather than living within like a box.
Yeah. I hate boxes.
I know, right?
I can't stand them.
I have a card that I was sending to a friend, that actually has a picture, like a piece of wood, a square piece of wood, and it says, "A true friend doesn't try to put a square peg through a round hole." And I was like, that's ADHD to the max.
Yes, definitely. I like that.
Yes. So the boulders that get in the way. The first picture here is a little blurry, sorry, but it's actually from where my school was. It's one of the tributaries to that big river that looked a lot more calm. So as you see, there's a lot of stones. It's rapid. It's kind of all over the way. And then the bottom picture has the bigger stones there. So like the boulders that get in the way. This is the struggle that we have with ADHD for self-acceptance. Because, and I don't know for you, Nancy, but like some of the boulders that really stick out for me are a lot of that self-talk of like, I'm not good enough. I'm a failure.
Yeah.
I can never get it right.
Yeah.
That was a big one. So like, and with that, I wanted to share the big boulder and how it kind of manifests, right? So something that I really focus on within my work is the impact of like a shame-informed treatment. So shame and the internalized stigma. So we know what stigma is, most of us, right? And when we have like our cultural, our familial, I can never say that word, sorry, but the family systems, the cultural systems, the school systems, our work environments, there's always like these norms, and these norms create that like stigma if you don't fit that norm. And with my personal ADHD, and I think most of us, that norm doesn't feel like a norm for us. Like it's just doesn't sit right. And so then I and most of us, let's be real, we as ADHDers will internalize that stigma, unbeknownst to ourselves. Like we create our own biases, and we actually will often what is the word, adapt to ableism. And I'm not sure how much you know about ableism, Nancy, but like I found that term and it was just so like I held on. Because
can you
ableism,
talk about it a bit more for people who aren't familiar with it?
Sure. Ableism is the it's kind of like discrimination, or like the microaggressions and like the discounting, the not good enoughs of people with disabilities. And people with like mental health and neurodevelopmental disabilities don't get a lot of the same privileges. They don't get a lot of the same encouragement. They get discounted as kind of dumb sometimes, or not worth our time. And this was something that I personally struggled with in my workplace. And the reason why I broke away from my workplace is because I couldn't work in that environment. And accommodations are harder than you think to get in the workplace, especially when systems are so stuck in their norms, you know? So that created a lot of shame for myself, you know, like, and I think most of us with ADHD, that shame, we own it. It's kind of like that stigma, it becomes shame. And then those things come out in ways of like anxiety. We minimize our problems a lot. Women, especially, like our male counterparts, get diagnosed a lot earlier than we do, you know, because we do minimize, and we are, you know, less, I don't know the word for it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Most of you know what I'm talking about, right? So it's like we sit there and we are seen as not as important. So like if we're like, there's a lot of studies, I could go into nerd mode. That's one of my passions, and that's why I do some of the consulting and the trainings. But yeah, so like the fear of doing things, right, of taking that step and being different is huge. So taking that risk is really difficult. So we live in a fear. People pleasing is huge, right? We want to fit in, you know, and that can get us into a lot of trouble, because I know, like, if you want to fit in and people are just fighting you, or like not accepting your differences, you will often find a group that might be not necessarily accepting of your differences, but indifferent to your differences. And therefore it's still difficult to have true connection, which is needed, right?
Yeah,
And
that's hard. Especially
yeah,
like if you don't accept yourself
yes,
as you are, and then you're trying to fit in, and like you kind of get the proof from all the other feedback from everybody around you that really you're not up to par with everybody else, so you better hide that difference and try to
oh
fit in.
yeah. Oh yeah, and that's where it comes to my next, you know, my next slide of navigating those boulders, right? And that's where the self-acceptance piece really kind of comes in, right? Because like you said, Nancy, like we need to have that self-acceptance so then we can navigate the others, you know, and like our relationships with the world. Big pivotal changes when you have that self-acceptance, but self-acceptance is not easy. um, there's a lot of different aspects to having true self-acceptance. A lot of people will say, oh, I accept this, but then they still live in that place of ableism, like internalized ableism, where they still think that they need to live according to everybody else's standards, and they're still not good enough. So with navigating, the first step, what I like to do, and I feel is super important, is creating a safe and comfortable boat, right? So like creating a safe environment, because when we're navigating those boulders, we need to know that we are going to be safe going through those boulders, right? And coming up to those boulders. So I think of like whitewater rafting, right? So they have these boats that can actually really navigate pretty well, and they're very durable, and it's a safer environment, and there's safety equipment and everything that you can put in. But we also have to learn what is our safety, what makes us safe. So in my work, I really work on trying to relate with my clients, and create like a really safe environment for us to kind of navigate the challenges. So, and then that goes into like, in order to create that safe space, sometimes that self-compassion piece comes into play. Now, self-compassion is difficult. It's different than, what is the word that everybody's like, self-care. So self-care is different than self-compassion.
Yeah.
Compassion has like three main qualities to it. And that includes self-kindness, and that's like holding yourself with grace, um, and accepting our differences. So like acknowledging them, allowing them to be with us. I'm really big on saying like you can't cut off a limb and ignore your differences. It has to sit with you in the front seat or in the back seat if you want, but like it's in the car with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need that and accept that that's a part of who you are, and hold it with grace and loving kindness. Um, Not easy work, but it's something that I like to encourage, inform, and with my therapy clients, I really work on this piece a lot.
Yeah.
And then there's this sense of connection to humanity. So recognizing everybody suffers and is imperfect. Because I think for ADHDers, a lot of us compare ourselves constantly to the neurotypicals of the world.
Totally.
And yeah, and even if you know they're not perfect, you're still comparing yourself, and in our mind something says they're doing it better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, um and so with that, there's that need to recognize that everybody's imperfect and suffers, and also connecting to our tribe, connecting to other people that understand and can help us navigate, and we don't feel alone. So like there's a sense of like that connection is really important. Some people use like spirituality as this piece as well. So
Mm-hmm.
like their connection and understanding to the world, to the universe, to others and themselves. And like, but it's that really big important for us to be connected. We're wired for it. Like our hormones are made for connection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, and then there's the mindfulness piece. Now, mindfulness is it's different than meditation. Meditation is a lot of times like there's many different forms of meditation. Mindfulness is just one of those forms. But it's about being non-judgmental and accepting our experiences. And it's imperfect, or not imperfect, sorry, accepting our experiences even when they're painful.
Mm.
Um,
That's a
and
challenge.
yeah, exactly. Sitting with that pain. A lot of us try to ignore it. And if you remember that shame slide,
Mm-hmm.
like that is what we do. We will minimize, we'll get, judgmental of others. We'll sit there and try to people please to avoid those difficult feelings. There's a guy that defines what happiness is. And I love this because he defines happiness as the ability to feel all emotions, like all emotions, while living a meaningful and purposeful life. And that's, to me, so important. A part of self-compassion is to be able to know we are human. We have human experiences. We're emotional beings. And that's good. Um,
Mm.
So those are my self-compassion, like three main steps. And I made a quote up when I was working in the clinic, and I was, without comparison and judgment, there can be no shame. So it's
Oh,
like
so
we have to,
true. So,
yeah,
so
yeah,
true. Yes.
because like that's where most of it comes from,
Yeah.
right? That internalized stigma and that I'm different, or not good enough. So we have to look into identifying and creating the awareness about them,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and that's kind of like a captain of a ship knows when the rapids are coming, right? We kind of have to know what these boulders are for us, because my boulders might be different than your boulders,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Um, so I need to identify and kind of be on the lookout for them and create that awareness that they're going to be there and I need to be prepared,
Mm-hmm.
right? So a lot of the work that I'll do, especially like with my coaching clients, is like kind of identifying what are our boulders, what are our, things that we need to look out for as we're trying to meet our goals.
Yeah.
Um, I do that with my therapy clients as well, but then my coaching is like, it's all forward thinking, less of
Mm-hmm.
the back end
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
Um, so the curiosity and investigating, that comes with the creating of awareness. I think people with ADHD are actually like we're wired for curiosity.
Mhm.
I really feel that way.
Yes.
Hence the reason why we start all these projects and we learn so much, and then we like
Mhm.
sometimes we really stink at the follow through, right?
Mhm.
But like we're naturally curious,
Yeah.
and investigating all the different ways of going through. A lot of times we can get overwhelmed because we have so many boulders. But like if we just choose that one and creating awareness of that one and then be curious about it and navigate that, sometimes we do have to have 5 different ways before we find what clicks.
Yeah.
And that's just a part of the process of growth and, navigating that river.
Mhm.
So in doing so, that's when we create those tools,
Yeah.
right? The things that can really be helpful for us, to help navigate that, whether it's like scheduling programs or, assertive, like speaking to a boss or coworker, kind of asking for mirroring, body doubling, whatever it might be, like finding those tools. And in doing so, we change that narrative of I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
I'm a failure. And that's where true self acceptance really comes and sits in.
Mhm.
It's like we can accept that we're going to have these problems.
Yeah.
That self kindness is huge, that self compassion. We can create the comfort. The environment might be scary, but we can create that comfort.
Mhm.
So changing that narrative is huge so that we can have a different way of navigating the world.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like it's very good. I like that very much.
Yeah, and so with me and Resilient River, offer the coaching therapy in the United States. I'm only licensed in the state of Maryland and Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
So for my therapy services, the clients need to live in those states.
Okay.
And then I do for both couples and like partners, because it's not just couples. Some people have like more than one partner. And I work with all different people. And that's one of my big things is like the othered. They are very similar with ADHD in a
Mhm.
sense that they don't fit in, right?
Yeah, that's
But
right.
and there's not a lot of help out there for people that are different,
No.
um, and that they can feel safe in that environment.
Mhm.
So, and then I do consulting and trainings, and then I also have group experiences. So some is group therapy, which you'd have to be a therapy client, but then there's also like support type groups or like learning work groups,
Mhm.
through the coaching. So those are things that I encourage people to kind of explore my website for. And I would love to meet with anybody. So I have like a free consultation that you can sign up
Lovely.
for if you go to my website. And just so I know where you heard about me from, I have the Beyond ADHD 22 code. So if you can put that in your message, to let me know who you are. I also have my email address for info. So if you have any
Mhm.
questions about what I kind of went over today, I
Yeah.
would love to be able to answer some of those and maybe set up something to kind of go into some of them a little bit further with you. And with that, that is my presentation. So
Fantastic. Oh, I
thank you.
really enjoyed it. And like it's so true that like we're trying to fit in and we don't have much self-compassion towards ourselves.
We do not. No.
Like it seems to be out the window most of the time.
Yeah, it's interesting because with my shame stuff, it's like in the 1800s, right? Like the way that our parents taught children, like was very much like the seen not heard. They were actually told that you needed to be strict with them, that they should not show any emotions,
Yep.
that is weakness. So like that was really ingrained into our societies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that they say comes from like more of a religious background. So I
Yeah.
mean, you can go into all that stuff, but like that was also how our sciences, like our mental health psychiatry section, psychology kind of was thinking this is the way that you do things.
Yeah.
And we've only just
Wasn't it
barely
Dr.
touched.
Spock? Wasn't it
Oh,
something
Dr.
that the
Spock.
It's
Yeah,
just,
that was the guy, what, the 40s,
yeah,
50s,
something like that.
and everybody ascribed to that, like
Yep.
almost everybody. And that was very much of like, let them cry, they'll
Mm-hmm.
be okay. So we created these like very unhealthy attachments, and like these very big uncertainties with our caregivers. And then we go, if with ADHD, we go to school and then we get like unhealthy attachments with that. Some of us get bullied because we're different.
Oh, for
There's
sure.
so many messages that just kind of erode
Yeah.
at us and create that I'm not good enough. And then why should I be compassionate with myself?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, nobody else really cares,
Yeah.
but we do, right? And a lot of times the ADHD people really are passionate about
Mm-hmm.
other ADHD people.
Yeah.
And there are neurotypicals out there that are also compassionate,
Yeah.
um, and can carry that pain
Mm-hmm.
with us.
Yeah.
So, and it's not until more recently, like I was saying, that we actually learned that we need to express our emotions, but most of us don't know how. We don't
Yeah.
have the words. Our parents never taught us those words. We didn't see them. Like we know what rage is, we know what happy is, and we know what sad is. Like it's like literally, but the all languages have so many words for feelings
Mm-hmm.
in the
Yeah.
human experience. And we need to express that, because without being able to be in a safe environment and be able to say, hey, I'm feeling this way, or I'm hurting, we can't really have true connection,
Yeah.
because nobody knows that we're suffering,
Yeah.
so they can't reach out and help us out.
Yeah. True enough. True enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's you make me make the connection also about the self-acceptance, and like often we want to be accepted by others and we're afraid of being judged, and we're thinking, oh, they're thinking the worst of me. But I
Hmm.
think it really stems from the fact that we didn't accept ourselves. We don't see ourselves as being good enough and
Right.
equal.
Yeah, and that's that ableism, like internalized stigma, that internalized ableism, that we aren't good enough because society has told us. All the messages that we've gotten are like, it's that part of the medical model, right? It's pathologizing. You are broken
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
have to fix you. And that message, since like early age, or even if you weren't diagnosed until you were later, like you still got that message because you were not
Mm-hmm.
normal,
Yeah.
you know?
Like I learned
And then
about that I had ADHD 3 years ago. That's well after I went through school and had one job and a second job, like,
yeah, and
and
it's
made me
like,
feel like, whoa, I'm nothing, like I'm so bad, like I'm a failure or something. And it was very hard to come back from that.
oh yes, it is, and it's a continuing journey, even for myself,
Yeah.
right? Like I think it's a continuing journey for all of us. And my biggest thing is like a river doesn't grow unless no, or a lake doesn't grow unless it's fed by a river or tributaries, right? So, but rivers constantly grow and move, and I'm a huge believer that without change, without growth, we aren't living our lives.
Yeah.
We are stagnant, and that's where depression loves to like sit and just be like, take
Mm-hmm.
hold of us.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just like having those connections, having that, safety, the self-compassion, the tools. Like some of us are just overwhelmed and
Yeah.
need to just have somebody be like, I'm going to help you carry this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sometimes
yeah.
that tool, like as you were saying, like things that you get ready for that big boulder that's coming up, maybe it
Hmm.
is to have somebody to hold you up a little bit and give you, hey,
Yeah, we need our external, like especially with ADHD, like studies have shown we need more external supports,
yeah,
like just for our brains, because our executive function works differently
mm-hmm,
in the neurotypical world. So, like, those supports, and it's hard on our partners a lot of times. With my partner work is like, because the partners are like, you should be able to do this on your own. And so there's a lot of that acceptance of how ADHD shows up in a relationship,
yeah,
and like a lot of acceptance that you like there's a lot of intricacies with couples work, but like it's really a huge important piece of like I had to learn to accept my differences. And some days I hate my differences, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And then other days I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
It's about creating a balance between the we struggle at this, and this, and those are those boulders. And I also have all these strengths that can help me navigate those boulders.
Yeah.
Like the creativity, the ingenuity, you
Yeah.
know, the kindness. Like we are
Mm-hmm.
very loving people for other
Yes.
people, right?
Yes.
Turn it inwards.
Yeah, that's a hard one. That's
Yep.
very hard.
Especially, yeah, it is. But it's so rewarding when you get to that place because
Yeah.
then when people sit there and judge you or reject you, because we do live in a society that does that. Let's be
Yeah.
real, right? You
Yeah.
can't avoid that. But when that happens, you can say, I'm not owning that. That's their own stuff.
Yeah.
Like that is their problem with people that are different.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is, I can't own that. And that's a hard message, but one of the most freeing things I have ever learned is that I'm not owning your judgment.
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely something to work on.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And we need people to help remind us constantly,
oh,
right? And that's
totally.
why coaches and therapists are so, welcomed. And I'm a firm believer that just like you should all have annual checkups with a doctor or
Mm-hmm.
biannual, go to the dentist twice a year or whatever it is that they encourage. Like therapists or, psychotherapy is one of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that even just a checkup, you
Yeah.
know? And so because just having somebody that is focused on solely you and not biased is so important.
Huge. Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Nancy, for this opportunity. It's been great talking with you.
I
And
really loved it.
yeah,
It resonates so much with all our experiences that we've
oh,
had
yes.
since being little. Like we've experienced these like all throughout our life.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
And then we create an aversion to it, right? So we don't even want to travel that river because I don't want to have to face those boulders.
mhm.
And that's when things get stagnant. Stagnant water is not good.
No,
That's
it
where
does. It stinks.
mosquitoes, stinks, mosquitoes, like algae,
Oh
like it doesn't thrive, right?
no.
So, and we as ADHDers, we are amazing people. Most of us, like in history, most inventions, most, new innovative things come from people with ADHD and neurodiverse minds.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So,
The world wouldn't move, wouldn't change if it wasn't for us.
I agree, 100%.
It's
And
just
but yet we struggle with recognizing our own strengths and our own power that has helped our humanity
mhm.
as a whole, like our society. So,
Yeah.
and
Totally
that's
agree.
that's what I strive to help people understand it and learn.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Thank you.
you're quite welcome. It's been such a pleasure.
Yes, it
So,
has been. I really loved having you, and definitely we'll have to connect with you. And I encourage everybody that's listening, like, okay, take her up on her offer. Come on,
yeah,
jump on that
email me
because
with
it's
any
amazing.
questions. Yeah, email me with any questions, and I would love to do a 20-minute consult. You can just sign up through my website, and there should be like a newsletter that you can sign up to so that you
Oh,
know when I have any
fantastic.
presentations that might come up. I'm not going to spam you because I hate that in my email too.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
only when I'm coming out with something new, and I don't
Okay.
come out with
Then I
something
want
new.
to know. You have to make
Yeah,
sure you tell me. So,
yes, yes. So I need you on a list so I can
well,
tell you.
definitely, I'll be the first to go put my name there for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I haven't, well, yeah. So that's, yeah, I'm excited. I love the ADHD community. I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah.
And my mental health background, and I passion for people that are different.
Yeah.
And I even for the couples stuff, I mean, I have like a sex positive and I do some sex therapy type work too, which is really difficult sometimes with an ADHD and all that internalized stigma, which
Mm,
also can crush our libidos. But that's
yeah.
a whole nother seminar and
Yeah,
training.
I'll have to have you again, have another summit, and we can talk about that subject too.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, thank you so much
Well,
for
thank you
having
so
me.
much. Thank you
Yes.
so much. Thank you all of you for watching this episode of the See Beyond ADHD Summit. Be sure to watch all the other interviews that are coming up. Hey,
Yes.
bye. See you.
Bye.